Welcome back. I landed on the planet. Welcome back. It's your man. Checking back in again. You know, this is how we do. 612. We coming through today with you know what season it is. You can tell by the hat. You know what season it is. Well, it's always football season, but you know, today we're going to get into the fantasy football fisticuffs draft order. Now, you know, me being the champ and everything, you know, well, even if it wasn't the champ, I'd still be doing the draft order, but I'm the champ currently. You know, it took me 5 years to get on top of my own league, but I'm on top. I ain't gonna stop, gonna repeat on these cats. So as you see here, just like with the Minneapolis heavyweights, I have a number of names in this chalice that I'm going to pick from going from 12 to all the way down to 1. And that will be the draft order. There are surprisingly 4 keepers in my league. So that means 4 teams have kept 4 individual players for this year. Those players are David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, Ezekiel Elliott, and Alvin Kamara. Everybody else is free to get drafted. It's amazing. It's amazing. I would have had a keeper too if certain shit didn't happen last week, the end of the season, you know, where I had to drop people because teams wasn't going to play them. Asshole. Anyways, before we get into all that, we're going to talk about the Hall of Fame this last weekend. I must say I didn't watch the Hall of Fame live, but I've watched pretty much all of the speeches given, and I was very impressed with Terrell Owens' speech. That was my favorite speech. Y'all can have. I'm sure y'all got y'all favorites or whatever. You know, one thing. You know, I'm not even gonna say. You know, one thing that was kind of dragged the ceremony on is all the. It felt like I was kind of in church watching a lot of these speeches. You know, it's cool to reference God and everything, give honor to God and all that, but it's like every other sentence. You know, but everybody knew what Ray Lewis was gonna do. Everybody knew about what Ray Lewis was gonna do. But I was just, I guess, not surprised, but I was just kind of taken aback by how much Jesus talk there was. And that's all right. You know, he was talking about the Trinity, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, and all this jazz. I was just surprised that there was so much of that. I wasn't disappointed, but I was just like, man, all right, next sermon. You know, well, but my favorite speech of the night was Terrell Owens, and I think he didn't reference the Jesus piece too much. He was just. I think his speech was the best because he explained himself, but he explained himself without taking any cheap shots. He called out, and just like I said, he's going to win no matter what. He called out the sports writers and that they didn't follow the exact criteria that you're supposed to be using to vote players into the Hall of Fame. And so that's why he decided to have his own ceremony. It wasn't just because it was the 3rd time he got voted in and his third time his name came. It was because of the reason they had used, the off-the-field reasons that they used to keep him out of the Hall of Fame those first 2 years. Now, if you want to do that, that invalidates half the people you got in the Hall of Fame because a lot of them cats got some major off-the-field issues, whether it be drugs, felonies, some of them mixed up in like homicide kind of business. But there's a lot of we'll say questionable characters in the Hall of Fame as far as off the field characters. So those sports writers doing that to Terrell Owens was very unfair, and I'm glad that he did it his way. I don't think he's ever going to regret it, and I think he's going to win because whenever he gets interviewed and they ask him about the Hall of Fame, he's going to get to reference this situation just as he wanted to. And like I said, nobody should ever have to go through that again because that's garbage. If you're going to make it about that, then don't even bring up the records. Don't even bring up the people. Because who do you like? Who do you like and who don't you like to get the Hall of Fame? That's what it should have been now if you're really going to base Terrell Owens' Hall of Fame membership on that. I was surprised Brian Dawkins had a great speech. He was able to work in the work he's done with his mental health issues over the years, you know, and how he's overcome those things. And I think it's powerful, you know, that mental health is given a shout out, you know, in the professional sports world, that like lets you know that everybody's affected by it in one way or the other, you know, whether it be someone in their family or just themselves, you know. I personally think everybody has mental health issues. That's why I said it. We all crazy. We all crazy. But that's all right. It's all right. You know, somebody got to be there. You know what I mean? There's no shame in it. You know, there's too much of a stigma on mental health in this country, you know. So I think it was very powerful for Brian Dawkins to come out and say, you know, he had been suffering through depression, you know, for parts of his career, and he's fought through that. And the messages that they shared, as far as like to keep powering through, you know, Ray Lewis, like I said, he had a great speech, but everybody knew what he was going to do. He was going to preach. Pastor Ray got up and did his thing on the soapbox. I also want to give mad shout out to Randy Moss. I like T.O.'s speech the best. I like Randy Moss's presentation the best. His presentation with his tie that he had all the victims of social injustice that we've seen throughout the years, the brothers that have been shot by the police throughout the years. That was a very cool gesture on his part and a very good demonstration on his part. You know, have Eric Garner's and the different, you know, the Philando Castiles, the Trayvon Martins. He had all these names going down the back of his tie. You know, the Sterling, the Alton Sterling. You know, people like that. You know, that was very cool for him to shine a light on that for people to pay attention to. So overall, I thought it was a good ceremony. I'll stay with my original thought on the matter that Brian Urlacher, you are a Hall of Famer, but you should not have been inducted to the same Hall of Fame as Ray Lewis. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what anybody says. You're not on the same level as Ray Lewis. You are a Hall of Famer, just not first ballot, you know, next year. Sure. You know, but, you know, they broke a tradition in the Hall of Fame this year. You don't usually, I don't think, see persons who played the same position getting voted in the same year. You know, like Randy Moss and T.O. both getting in this year. Once T.O. didn't get in last year, I thought that they might do something like this, but I didn't think it was fair to him. You know, and then to have Brian Urlacher get, you know, with like if you're going to have to choose between Ray Lewis and Brian Urlacher, who's going to get in the Hall of Fame? We know we can go on Ray. Sorry. You know, there's no comparison there. You know, so I'm still a little miffed that Brian Urlacher got in the first year. He's obviously a great team player, but he didn't win no Super Bowls. You know, and he's not Mike Singletary. He's not Dick Butkus. He ain't even. You know, he was good. But he's part of the pantheon now. It's all said and done. He's there. You know, so his speech is all right too. You know, but you know, the Hall of Fame, I must say, I think it was a good ceremony, and it was probably one of the most exciting Hall of Fames in recent history, probably, with other characters that went in there. Now, with that all being said and done about the Hall of Fame experience, let's get into these first 4 picks of the Fantasy Football Fisticuffs draft order. Let's see here. Of course, like I told you before, we will be going from 12 to 1. That is how we do it. We have 12 members in our league, and so let us get started going down from 12 to 1 in the magical chalice that you see before you. It's not really magical, I lie to you, but still, you know, you get the idea. Number 12.
I mean, you know the rules of the game. I mean, your bitch just chose one.
Let's see what we got going on here. That lovely tunes you hear in the background is the homie Crisis Fresh. The track is called Game. Recognize Game. So, first pick in the Fantasy Football Fisticuffs draft order is number 12. I don't want it to be me. Number 12, we have Hal Dog Homies. I don't know if you can see that over there, and I don't really care. That's number 12. And that's gonna start it off. Just as long as it ain't me, we going for that number one spot, boy. Just like me being the champ, we going for number one spot. The next segment we're gonna talk about after we get done with these first four cats is a surprise. I don't know what you guess what it is. Probably, unless you already read what's gonna go on, unless you already read what's happening on the Twitter page, whatever it is. You know, probably did. Number 11. And first, FASSCE football FISTICUFFS. Draft order in. Let's see what we got here. Boston Lush, that asshole, that jackass Patriots fan. I'm glad to see that you're down there. I think you're getting a player you don't want in the first round. And I'm happy to say that and laugh at you all at the same time. Sorry. I apologize. Number 10. The first FASSCE football FISTICUFFS draft order is going to be. Let's touch this one right here. Who's it? Not me. Not me. It's probably one more. Number 10. Number 10. Monday morning. Boom. So, let us senior obtain the homie, and he has decided to keep David Johnson. So David Johnson is the number 10 pick in this year's draft. That's amazing. That is a great placement. That's a great placement. Number 9. Number 9. Wait a minute. No, I don't speak Spanish for real like that. Number 9. Number 9. Let's see who we got here. The homie Biz Nasty, number 9. And that's the first 4 picks of FASSCE football FISTICUFFS business going on right there. That's the first 4. So the next subject matter we're going to jump into is this gambling business. Now, as you might know, gambling has now been made legal by the federal government. And you can place bets, but it's up to the legislation of each state to decide if they're going to legalize gambling. I, for one, think it is inevitable and that every state will have legalized gambling within the next decade. I think some have already legalized it. I think it's maybe like 10, 12 have already legalized it. I think in the next 2 years, over half the country will have legalized gambling in the next decade. Whether it's, just due to social pressure, just the pressure of other states making money, you ain't making no money. Gambling is going to be legal in the entire United States. So, on that, we're going to talk about the homie Adam Silver and the NBA and how he is the best commissioner out of all commissioners because when you're in that high of a level of professional sports and behind the scenes, I mean, a person like myself thinks that you're automatically somehow connected to organized crime. I can't prove that at all. I can't prove that. But to me, Adam Silver's a gangster. He's a gangster, the way he handled the Donald Sterling business, he's like, oh, this look is bad for business. You got to go. Bounce. Gone. He was gone. Donald Sterling. I love that. I love how he just kicked him out of there. No questions asked. We wasn't taking no votes. We wasn't taking no polls. Bye. I love that. Adam Silver, that was a gangster move right there. Adam Silver is now proposing basically to the legislature that, and I don't know how he's going to pull it off, but if he does, he wants basically the NBA to get 1% of all gambling bets made on the NBA from each state. If I understand that correctly. If he wants 1% of all gambling, period, from every state, nigga, please stop. You stop it. But still, 1% of all bets made on the NBA from every state. Imagine that. So let's say, in the next decade or so, gambling is legal in like like I said, all 50 states. I think in the next decade, and let's say just the average gambling bets made on each state per state. You know, the average. Let's take an arbitrary number. Let's say it's $4 billion, right? You know, bets made on the NBA per state. So the NBA get 1% of that. That's $40 billion from each state. You know, so you time that by 50. That's about that's horrible math. I think that's $2 billion extra in equity for the NBA. You know, if those were the actual numbers. Hell, the dollar might be worth a lot more in 10 years. So it might, you know, what I'm calling $4 billion might actually be $7 billion by then. You know, so whatever. I'm just thinking of what, you know, what could be the possibility. But that's what he's put forth is what he wants. And I don't, like I said, I don't know how he's going to get it done because states can just be like, y'all haven't asked Vegas, y'all haven't asked the entire state of Nevada for 1% of their bets revenue over the last what 6 decades, 7 decades that Vegas has been up and running. So how are you gonna ask now? You know, and I'm sure there's a case, there's some technical talk, technical jargon that Adam Silver will be able to institute in court that will make it a good case, you know, for them to get this, you know. But if he pulls it off, man, he's the biggest gangster I've seen in sports executives ever, as far as I'm concerned. You know, that's big time. You know, in fact, I'll call him the Don. I won't call him Adam Silver no more. If he pulls that gangster move off right there, you know, 1% of all bets concerning the NBA. They've already got a partnership with the MGM Grand Casino. You know, I don't know exactly how that partnership works out, but I know it's worth $25 million over 3 years. I know that much. Yeah, he got like an NFL contract with a casino. What the hell is that? You know, Adam Silver's slick though, boy. If he pulls this move off where he's getting 1% of all the money, I want to see him wearing a fedora. Like one of them old gangster ass cats from the I want to see him wear a fedora for real. He's walking around with his brim, walk in the room and tip that shit, you know. Adam Silver's a cold piece. You better watch out for that boy now. He's a cold piece, Adam Silver. Mm-hmm. You know, so we'll see what happens with that. You know, I think I don't think it's going to be a quick decision on this either way. Whether the courts decide that the NBA has a legitimate claim on this or if not, I think it's going to be one of them drawn out. Maybe it takes a couple of years for them to make the verdict on this. I guarantee you what though, whatever happens, all the other leagues are going to follow suit. So. And the NBA as proven recently, is the most progressive of all of the professional athletic leagues. You know, they do things first. They don't just react. I can guarantee you, if this goes the NBA's way and they end up getting 1% of all revenue of bets made throughout the country made on the NBA, the NFL is going to do it, NHL is going to do it, the MLB is going to do it, NBA is going to do it. Hell, if I was a professional golfer, I'd want 1% on any bet made on my name. You know, I want my money. I'd be like, well, I got a claim to that. If professional athletes and performers are professional athletes are getting paid off the bets made on their name, off their brand, and I want mine too. You know, so I think we're going to see what kind of trends happen from this. Adam Silver's a genius, though. I'll tell you what, I like him. You know, if I was ever going to, you know, if I was a friend of his and I needed financial advice, I'm going to Adam. You know, soon to be known as the Don Silver. Doesn't have quite the ring to it, I thought, but we'll try that again later. Now, on to the next 4 picks of FASSCE Fantasy Football Fisticuffs NFL Draft Order. Let's see how. Then we're gonna got so the last pick we stopped off on was 9. So that means obviously the next pick we're gonna get into is 8. And let's see who that is. Tell me how you see this girl, beautiful, young, lost in this world. The track you are now hearing is from the homie Denami. This track is called Have You Seen Her?
Tell me how to see this girl.
Kind of dope. Okay, it's really dope. Actually, I can't lie. I can't do it. Maybe I'll play it called kind of dope. Dog. That's why I got on my podcast. Dope track.
17, going on 35. Living the man's
Number 8.
Who's trying to get between?
In the first football FISTICUFFS draft is.
Do it plenty times. Shorty don't care. Shorty thinks he mad fine. Plus he got a bad ride.
Numero 8.
So be sitting mad high.
Not the Ocho, like ESPN, but
numero
Numero 8.
She just a sex toy when it's time. Can you believe this? A senior in high school with college scholarship.
Darkness coming.
The night school.
Darkness. Number 8.
Out studying high
As runner-up to the championship last year. Congratulations on getting second place again. I enjoyed defeating you. And I told you it was going to happen. You didn't want to listen. I told you the light shall overcome the darkness. Every time. Every time. Now it's time for number 7. And let's see what we got here. Number 7. Big fancy football. FISTICUFFS. Lead. That's fun to say. FORS. FORS. Never mind. FORS. Number 7. Group. So he has kept Le'Veon Bell like the jerk that he is. So he, you know, I wouldn't use his team name, but the jackass changes his name every week. You know, he's such a dickhead, you know, that guy. So I'll just call him by his podcast name because he's turned. You know, but he has Le'Veon Bell, number 7 pick, and that's probably going to be maybe what's going to be. That's a question I got. What's going to be a better value fantasy pick? Le'Veon Bell 7 or David Johnson 10? Tell me what. Tell me what. Number 6. Number 6 we have.
Tell me, have you seen her? Tell me, have you seen this girl?
Halfway mark. Me, the one at number 6. I don't like that at all. But I'll make do. What's that? I'm still planning on putting my foot in y'all ass. Just so you know. You know. Number 5. Number 6. Smack dab in the middle. You know, I didn't win a championship being number 6 before. Not this one, but I did before. I'll do it again. Number 5. Asshole. Number 5, we have. Oh, this asshole. Pennsylvania. This jerk kept Alvin Kamara, so Alvin Kamara's number 5 overall pick. Make me sick, fat boy. That's all right. That's all right. You keep that piece of crap. You know. Minneapolis Miracle jerk. What did Alvin Kamara do up here? Oh, he went home. Oh, that's what happened to Alvin Kamara when he went here. Yeah. Now, let's talk about the homie LeBron for a little bit, intermingled with this moron, the president. Now, you know, we gotta be able to have intellectual conversation about these kind of things. But what are you, as I don't know where they get these titles from, the supposed leader of the free world, talking? Well, you spend so much of your day talking about professional athletes for, man. You know, and you got all these people out here telling athletes to keep it about sports when our supposed politicians, he ain't even a politician, but the politicians are all up on the athletes' nuts. You know, you try to align yourself with Michael Jordan saying, oh, I think LeBron's dumb, this, that, and the other. I prefer MJ, blah, 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 blah. And MJ kind of brushed you off like, no, I'm down with LJ. I mean, you know, so Michael Jordan is down with LeBron, you know, and even though he said once upon a time that Republicans buy shoes too, I don't think he cares about your politics at all. I just don't think nobody really wants to be associated with you, man. And that's to call somebody dumb the week that they open a school for children in the inner city that provides them education, resources, bikes, and it supplies their parents with opportunities to further their own selves uh, through working with the school is just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You put yourself in a bad, like, why put yourself in opposition of somebody who is currently a hero of the people? You know, I don't see what benefit you have of putting yourself in opposition to that. Even your wife isn't sticking up for LeBron. So that's the ultimate indictment right there. Your wife's like, shut the hell up. And I don't think your wife talks too much, really. Maybe she does. I don't know. But anyways, LeBron, to me, he's already surpassed Jordan on a social level as far as the things that he represents. He's bigger than basketball, LeBron. He's proven that he's about the civil rights of people, the social justice of people, and just the betterment of society in a way. And he's not afraid to take a stance on anything. So he is getting on a platform that is, he's becoming the ultimate. People have to be careful with the word role model, but he's like the ultimate role model. You come from basically nothing. You have a single mother. And you're poverty stricken. But you make the best decision that you can in every instance of every day to better your situation each day and to better the situation of those around you, and to be such a polarizing figure that you are, that's to be commended. People don't, I don't think, talk about that enough. They focus on the basketball too much, or so much, on the things he does and the decisions he makes in basketball. But the man has become a self-made, to me, Renaissance man, LeBron James. He's to me, self-educated on many things. He listens to the right people. He seems to me to be the ultimate person of being able to take what he needs from each person, each situation that he might come across, and taking on the useful things from that. But he's to be commended. And I disagree with I heard. I think what Stephen A. said that it didn't help to call the president a bum. I think it did. It's like, if you can in the same breath say that it's beneath the president's station to be addressing professional athletes all the time and talking about issues that are not related to international diplomacy or international relations with other people, and basically bettering our community of the United States and bringing everybody together. But you're focusing on athlete and then tearing folks down. That's beneath you, as beneath the station that you currently occupy. And so that's a bum move. So for LeBron to call you a bum, I thought it was right on par. I'll call you a bum too. You're a bum. You're a social bum. Not but it's just the way you carry yourself. You're a bum. You troll people. Like you're on Twitter like one of these teenagers arguing all day about a point that you're never going to prove to the other point, because you're not listening or communicating anything intelligently about your position to the other side. So, it is a shame that we as a society do not hold the leader that you put in place to a standard as high as you hold an athlete who has nothing to do with supposedly influencing the cultural sphere of our country. Athletes are supposed to play a game, be better than the athlete next to them that they're going against, and that's what they're supposed to do, right? But when the politics interfere with the sports world has to react. When the politics are so out of control, what's going on in the social spheres things, all people from all different spheres are going to have something. The athletes are going to have something to say. Entertainers are going to have something to say. So it's like, it's never just a stick to sports and stick to your area of expertise thing when it comes to these kind of things. When it comes to something that affects us all, it's never that. So I just want to give LeBron the pound, boy. I give LeBron the pound. Homie, I've always loved your work and how you present yourself. And that's that. And with that, we're going to get on with the final four picks of the first fantasy football fisticuffs That's 4. Draft order. There's only 4 left. I know who I want to be number 1. The only one of y'all who I don't like, or the only one of y'all who I do like, you know, the rest of y'all go to hell. You know, but so we got 4 picks left. 4. And we're gonna see. I personally think the 4th pick is gonna be I'm gonna say Colonel Klink, just because I think that, you know, you never have the best of luck in these things. That's just my personal opinion. You know, like that one game he got tripled up last year by the homie Pennsylvania. I think he got 220 and you scored like 70 or something like that. Yeah, that was pretty hard to watch. Anyways, number 4 pick coming up, and let's see who we got here at number 4. What you hear in the background is a personal track of mine called Walkable Style. Number 4. I was wrong. The homie Educated Fools is number 4. Number 4 pick, Educated Fools. That ain't so bad. You've had worse picks. I've had worse picks. I usually always have a worse pick number 4. I usually never get nothing like that number 4. That's pretty good. Number 4 is pretty good. Number 3. Number 3. Let's see here. Number 3. Colonel Klink. Better luck this year. I think you can do a lot with that number 3 pick. Hopefully make the playoffs. You've been like 1 game away from making the playoffs like the last 3 years. This is where it gets nice now. This is where it gets spicy. The number 1 and 2 overall picks in the league. Numero 2. This is going to be great. This is going to be great. Because if the number 1 pick is World Star, then I'm pretty sure I know who concussions. That's who it is between World Star and concussions and Molly. But if World Star's name is right here in my hand, that means concussions and Molly is the first pick. Either way, I think I know who she's gonna pick. The World Star pick is locked with Ezekiel Elliott. Who we gonna see? Number 2 overall pick in the first fantasy football FISTICUFFS draft is concussions and Molly, which means World Star. This is the 2nd time the assholes have the number 1 pick. Man, fuck that pick, man. Hey. Fuck out of here. We were doing this. Okay, fine. Number 1 overall pick will be Ezekiel Elliott, World Star. Right here. There you are. Asshole. You're number 1 overall pick. You got Ezekiel Elliott. I'm pretty sure I'm going to say right now, concussions and Molly's taking Todd Gurley. Number 3 overall pick, Colonel Klink. I don't know what he's going to do. Number 4, Educated Fool. I don't know who he's going to get either. But it's going to be interesting. Man. World Star. Love you back. Anyway, that's what we got for y'all today, man. We're going to talk more later. And of course, later, you know, as we do. I'm going to holler at y'all later as I lick my wounds of this punk ass draft order. You know, like I said, I'm in the middle, so I'm gonna fuck things up each round. You know, that's what I do. I'll talk to y'all later. Holler at y'all boy, man. Shit.